I've spent most of my adult life working in finance, and the last 20 years of that as a financial advisor, helping hundreds of families prepare for retirement and then launching into a successful retirement. And one of the things I've learned is there's some core habits, there's some core skills that we all need to have in order to build our net worth. And today I'm going to share with you the most important one of those. And I want you to stay to the end, because at the end I'm going to talk about what the end goal is, not just from a dollar standpoint, but where those dollars are. It's super important, so please stay tuned. Okay, the first one is you really have to have a goal in mind. The first habit is have a goal in mind. How much are you looking to save every year? And different people can get to that goal by different ways. Some people like to have a budget. Let's say you want to save $12,000. So some people will come up with a budget and say, okay, here's how I'm going to save $1,000 a month. And other people will say, I'm going to set aside that $1,000 a month first, and then I'll spend whatever's remaining, right? I happen to be somebody that falls into that latter camp. I worry about what the savings goal is, and then I figure the rest of life out around that. But we're all different. If setting up a budget is more natural for you, then go ahead and do it. So that's number one. The second one is one I've talked about a lot on the channel, and that is having an emergency fund set up. Most people would say 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And what this gives you is it gives you time if something unexpected happens. Let's say you lose your job. It gives you time to find the right job. And frankly, the more senior you are, the more successful you are. As you climb up the ladder, there's fewer and fewer positions. So as you get more senior, as you gain your skill set, I would argue instead of 3 to 6 months, you want to have 6 to 12 months and maybe even a little bit more. So starting in my mid 40s, I actually had 2 years worth of living expenses in my emergency fund. Frankly, because in the state that I live, there's really not any other firms that I'd want to work for. And so I would have to kind of look nationwide if I lost my job for, where else am I going to work? And that job search could take a while. And also in my industry, it takes a while to build up. So for me, having 2 years was the right amount. Most people would say that's excessive, but I think 6 to 12 months for most professionals that are climbing the ladder makes sense. The third one is watch how you spend debt. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Bad debt is basically credit cards and stuff you buy that's going to depreciate very quickly. So that would be, your credit cards. You go out shopping at the mall. You decide you want, a 20th shirt. You've already got 19 at home, but you decide you want a 20th, and that's fine. You be you. This isn't a judgment call. There was a time where I had 20 dress shirts at home and probably over 20 t-shirts. That's not my current situation, but you be you. But don't put that kind of stuff on a credit card that you're not paying off, because ask yourself, is it really worth 20 to 24% interest rate payments? Most of us would say no, but yet the default is we put it on our credit card and then something happens and we don't pay off our credit card. So credit card debt, going into debt for a boat, going into debt for a new car, things like that depreciate. It depends on how much joy it gives you. It depends on how much disposable income that you have. But if you're using high cost debt to buy those kind of things, the next best thing to have in your own boat is having a friend with a boat, and just give them $100 when you go out on the boat for gas. That's what I do. I wanted a boat when my kids were younger. I thought it'd be a fun thing for the family to do. My wife wasn't a fan, but you know what? We're lucky. We have friends with boats, so kids got to go out in a boat plenty of times. So there's good debt and bad debt. The good debt would be a mortgage. You don't want to overextend there. But to get yourself a house and hopefully put yourself in a situation where over an investment cycle, which in real estate tends to be about 10 years, maybe a little bit longer, but over an investment cycle, you should do okay with a real estate investment. It's not my area of expertise, but that'd be an example of good debt. You just don't want to overdo it. A little bit of debt for your college education, that would be another example of good debt. Again, you don't want to overdo it, right? Now, I don't think for most of us, it does not make sense to graduate owing $100,000 or more in debt. Okay, the next habit, the next skill that people that are succeeding with their finances have, that a lot of people don't have, is they have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're if you fail to have a plan, you're planning to fail, is what the saying goes. I don't fully believe in that, but it helps to have a roadmap. It helps to have a strategy to know where you are in your plan and whether you're ahead of plan or maybe you need to cut back on things. Again, if your goal is, in my example, to save $1,000 a month, are you saving $1,000 a month or aren't you? And if you're not, having a plan would probably be really helpful. But then you also have to think about what that end journey is, where you're trying to get at the end, which I'm going to talk about at the end of this video. So I had my first financial plan done when I was 22 years old. It cost me $500 in 1987, 88. And it was some of the best money I could have spent. Now, $500 was probably like $2,000 today. So it wasn't inexpensive for a young person, but it really provided a roadmap for me and got me thinking about things I otherwise wouldn't have thought. For instance, at the end, I'm going to share, where you want this money. How many 22-year-olds are thinking about, how this money is held, and that'll make a difference in retirement. So I was fortunate that I had somebody showing that to me. And that's available to all of us, right? Just reach out. I think fee-only financial advisors who you want to reach out to and have a plan put together. The next thing is it's okay to invest in yourself. And that's one of the things that successful people do constantly, is they're constantly investing in themselves, leveling up their skill set, leveling up their knowledge. They tend to be curious people. They're always looking into new things, and sometimes things happen serendipitously. Maybe they, like me, I learned to computer program when I was in my early 50s. Not that there was any business reason for that. I was just curious how to build apps. You see these things in movies, and I was like, I wonder how that really works. And that opens up all kinds of doors. So invest in yourself, even if you don't have a clear path. You don't have to spend a ton of money. There's different places. There's these massively online courses like Stanford and Harvard and MIT will put courses online totally free through groups like Coursera. I used an application on my phone called Udemy, Udemy. And a lot of those courses are under $20 and you can learn a new skill. And some of those skills that can be really valuable is learning marketing. A lot of small companies need help with marketing, specifically with the written word, which is called copywriting. That's a nice side hustle. I've never done it, but I have a lot of friends that have done that. So investing in yourself is a wise way to spend money. The next one is, it's not enough to just save. If you save that $12,000, that's great, but you're probably not going to reach your goal unless you invest that money. It has to be invested. It has to beat inflation, because if you're beating inflation, compounding is working for you, right? A dollar earned this year, you're going to make money on that dollar that you earned this year, and it compounds. For instance, Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people in the world, when he was 65 years old, which is when most of us retire, his wealth was quite a bit less. I want to say it was just under $1 billion when he was 65. Now that's still plenty of money to retire on, right? But his wealth is now $92 billion, almost $100 billion. And most of that came after the age of 65, and that's the power of compounding. But if you're earning less than inflation, compounding's working against you. Your dollar is decreasing and you have fewer dollars, the purchasing power. The purchasing power is decreasing, and then the next year you have a lower base. So compounding can either work for you or work against you. And the smart people, and I know if you're watching my channel, you're smart. The smart people are using compounding to work for themselves. And then another, I think, again, earlier I said it pays to have a plan. It also pays to have a river guide with you on the journey. So I think it makes sense to have a fee-only financial advisor that you're working with over time. And that, I think, in my case, paid for itself at least 10x over, probably 100x over. And I'm about to share with you, the secret that I learned when I was 22 and have since been reinforced by hundreds of families that have successfully built their net worth. But before I go there, if you're enjoying this video, as the kids say, thumbs for likes, subs for love. Leave me a comment as well. I love reading the comments. If you haven't subscribed yet, think about doing it. So the last one that I learned when I was 22, that I don't think many 22-year-olds know this, which is it matters how your money is saved. Having your money in a Roth IRA is different than having it in a regular IRA, is different than having it in a taxable account. So I want you to think through that. And the reason that it matters is this way you can control your tax rate, right? The Roth is really a don't give me a tax break now account, but never tax me again account. A regular IRA, a regular 401k is really a give me a tax break today, and let it grow tax-free, but every dollar I take out, you're gonna tax me on it. So it's a tax me later account. And then your account at like a bank is a traditional taxable account, which is what I call a tax as I go. If I have $10,000 in that account and I earn $100 in interest, that $100 is going to be taxable every year, probably as ordinary income for most of us. So those are really the three buckets, and thinking through those buckets is really important, because when you retire, like how much of your Social Security is going to be taxed, what the tax rate is on your dividends is going to be impacted, what your premium is going to be, not for Medicare Part A, but for Medicare Part B, is going to be based on your taxable income or your combined income, which is a subject for another time for Social Security. But having lower taxable income will be helpful. And if you enjoyed this video, I know you're going to enjoy this video over here, which talks about 5 ways to five reasons to retire as soon as you can, or this video up here, which talks about tax efficiency, planning to be tax efficient in retirement. Both of those subjects are super important, right? If you're 60 years old, you likely have less than 1,000 weeks left of healthy active time. So that's the video on 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. I already talked about why the taxability of your retirement account is so important. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.